She lived in a town that moved slowly and gently, where mornings smelled of fresh bread and coffee from the small bakery at the corner, and the streets were lined with trees that had leaves soft with the touch of wind. She spent most of her days at work, where people knew her as calm and reliable. She liked the quiet life, the kind where small routines gave comfort. She had a past that made her careful about people and love, and she had learned to guard her heart without closing it entirely. One day she went to the bookstore, which was her favorite place in town. It was a small building with wooden shelves that reached the ceiling and floors that creaked, just enough to remind her she was there. The smell of paper and dust made her feel safe and calm. She wandered between the shelves looking for a book she had heard about. She was not sure she would find it, but the hope of a new story excited her. He was there, to a man who seemed to belong to the quiet world of the bookstore. He moved slowly and looked at books with care. He did not rush through the aisles, but took his time reading the titles and flipping through pages with gentle fingers. He noticed her before she noticed him. She was reaching for a book on the top shelf, and it wobbled in her hand, and he stepped forward quickly to catch it. She looked at him and felt a small shock of gratitude. Mixed with embarrassment, she thanked him, and he smiled softly, a smile that was patient and kind. He handed her the book, and she felt a warmth in her chest that she had not expected. She told him she had been looking for this book for a long time, and he nodded, as if he understood the small importance of such a thing. He asked her if she liked the author, and she found herself talking to him easily, as if they had known each other for years. They moved to a quiet corner where the light fell softly on the old armchairs. She sat down, and he pulled a chair near her. We did not try to fill the silence with words. Instead, he let it exist, and it was comfortable. She found herself relaxing in a way she had not done with anyone in a long time. She talked about small things, her favorite places, her routines, and he listened. He asked gentle questions that made her think. Without feeling judged, the afternoon passed like a slow current. She noticed how he remembered small details she had mentioned. The way he tilted his head when she described something she liked, and the soft nod when she shared her thoughts made her feel seen. She realized that she could share a story without fear of it being too much or too little. He did not hurry her answers or interrupt her thoughts. He let them breathe and exist as they were. He told her small stories about his own life. In the town, stories that were simple but rich with feeling. He spoke of mornings spent in the park watching birds and evenings by the river, where the water reflected the colors of the sky. He did not speak of grand adventures or dramatic moments, but the way he described the ordinary made it feel beautiful. She listened and found herself smiling without realizing it. She noticed that when she laughed, he laughed too, not loudly, but with a soft joy that made her feel light. She realized that his presence was calming, and she did not want the afternoon to end. She felt an unfamiliar pull towards him, a gentle force that made her want to know him more. She wondered how someone could be so patient and attentive without trying to impress. It was time to leave. She felt a strange reluctance. She wanted to linger, but the light was fading, and the bookstore would close. She thanked him again, and he suggested they meet at the small park the next afternoon to continue talking. She felt a flutter in her chest and nodded, agreeing without overthinking. She left the bookstore holding the book carefully, but also holding a feeling she could not yet name. The next morning felt different. She woke with a light anticipation as she prepared for the day. The memory of the previous afternoon lingered in her mind. She wondered what it would be like to meet him again, to see if the comfort she felt would return, or if it had been a fleeting moment of chance. She dressed simply and left her home, walking slowly through the streets, noticing the soft colors of the sky. When she arrived at the park, he was already there, sitting on a bench reading a book. He looked up as she approached and gave a small nod of greeting. She smiled and walked over. She felt her heart beating slightly faster than usual, but it was not fear, it was curiosity and interest. He stood as she came closer and offered her a seat next to him. She accepted, and the conversation began again. Effortlessly, they spoke of the town and the people they had noticed, the trees and the birds and the small cafes they had visited. She found herself sharing little moments that made her feel vulnerable, and he listened without judgment. He asked questions that showed he was paying attention, and he shared similar stories from his own life. He did not dominate the conversation, but let it flow naturally. Time moved slowly and gently around them. They walked along the riverbank, noticing the water and the sky and the way. Light fell on the buildings. She realized she had not felt this kind of peace with anyone in a long time. The world seemed smaller and warmer when he was near. She laughed at small jokes he made, and he smiled at the sound of Itaz. The day ended. They parted with a soft promise to meet again. She walked home thinking about the gentle way he had listened and the quiet way he had drawn her into conversation. She realized that something was beginning between them, something slow and patient that did not need hurry or grand gestures. She felt hope stir in her heart, and she allowed herself to imagine what could be. Past and their meetings continued. They would find each other in the bookstore or the park or a small cafe. They talked about books and life and dreams. They did not rush their connection, but let it grow with each shared story and gentle laugh. She felt herself opening in a way she had not allowed in years. He noticed the small things she liked, the books she read, the songs she hummed, the way she looked at the sky, and he remembered them all. She realized that his patience was a kind of love, not loud or dramatic, but steady and true. She found herself drawn to the way he respected her pace and her thoughts. She did not feel pressured or judged. She felt seen and understood, and it made her heart feel lighter. One evening, as they walked through the quiet streets, she realized that every small moment with him mattered more than she could have imagined. The way he listened, the way he smiled, the way he allowed her to speak freely had drawn her closer without any grand declaration. Understood that this was the beginning of something slow and beautiful, something built on attention and care, and every gentle whisper between them pulled her heart nearer to his days past, and their connection grew gently. She found herself looking forward to their small meetings, the quiet moments spent walking through the streets or sitting on a bench by the river. She noticed that she was thinking about him more often, his soft presence lingering in her mind. Even when they were apart, she felt a curious warmth that was new, comfortable at the same time. He continued to show care in ways that did not demand attention. He remembered the smallest details. She shared the color of the scarf. She liked the kind of books that made her laugh or think deeply. He would comment subtly on these things during their meetings, and she felt seen in a way she had not been before. Each small gesture built trust and a feeling of closeness that was slow but steady. One afternoon they met at a small cafe tucked in a quiet street. The air was calm, and the smell of fresh pastries filled the room. They found a corner table where they could talk without interruption. She ordered tea, and he chose coffee, and they settled into the chairs across from each other. The conversation began with light topics, the weather, the new books in the bookstore, and slowly moved to thoughts and feelings about life and past experiences. She felt a freedom in speaking that she had not known in a long time. She talked about her childhood memories, the people who had shaped her life, the quiet disappointments, and the small victories that had mattered. She could speak without fear of judgment, and he listened with attention, his eyes focused gently on her, his posture relaxed yet present. He asked questions softly, allowing her to explore her thoughts without pushing her. He shared stories from his life that were simple yet meaningful. He spoke of long walks in the park, the feeling of the wind on his face, and the way the town felt alive in its quiet moments. He did not talk about grand achievements or dramatic events, but the way he described ordinary life made her feel connected to him. She began to see that love could grow from the small things, from attention and care that required patience rather than grand gestures. As days turned into weeks there, meetings became a natural rhythm. She would often find little notes from him on books she had borrowed or messages suggesting a quiet walk or a new place in town to see. The gestures were gentle but consistent, and they carried a sense of thoughtfulness that touched her heart. She realized that the small acts of kindness were drawing her closer without forcing her to rush or make decisions before she was ready. She remembered the times she had rushed into relationships before and how quickly they had faded. The difference now was in the patience and calmness of his presence. There was no pressure, only a quiet encouragement to open her heart when she felt ready. She began to trust again, slowly allowing herself to imagine a future with someone who understood the beauty of stillness and listening. One evening they decided to visit the old library at the edge of town. The library was quiet and filled With sunlight streaming through tall windows, she wandered among the shelves while he followed at a gentle distance, allowing her to choose the book she wanted. He offered suggestions only when she looked unsure, and always with a soft tone that made her feel respected. She picked a book and sat on a bench while he sat across the aisle reading his own book. Silently, they did not need to speak much to feel connected. The comfort of each other's presence was enough. They shared smiles and small glances that conveyed warmth and understanding. She felt her heart calm in a way that was new and tender. She realized that love could exist without noise, without constant words or drama. It could exist quietly in attention and care in shared spaces. In gentle whispers, their conversations slowly moved to deeper subjects. They talked about dreams and fears, the things they wanted and the things they avoided talking about with others. She found herself admitting vulnerabilities, and he responded, with patience, acknowledging her feelings without rushing her to feel differently. He did not offer solutions, but his presence was a comfort and made the difficulties lighter. One afternoon, she faced a personal challenge. Her work had a sudden problem, and she felt overwhelmed. She was tempted to withdraw and handle it alone, but she decided to share her worries with him. They met at the riverbank, and she spoke about her fears and frustrations. He listened quietly, his calm presence a shield against her rising tension. He suggested nothing immediately, only stayed with her as she spoke, allowing her emotions to flow freely. She felt relief in the simple act of being heard. He spoke softly about times he had felt uncertain and alone, and how small gestures and attention from people he trusted had helped him through difficult moments. She realized that patience and love were not about fixing problems, but being present as someone navigated their own journey. She felt herself drawn to him even more, recognizing the depth of his understanding and the steadiness of his care. Walks became longer. They explored corners of the town they had never noticed before. They talked about art in the little gallery downtown, the sounds of the town. In the early morning, the quiet beauty of the sunset, reflecting on the river, they found joy in these shared experiences. Small discoveries that made them feel alive together. She noticed that every shared moment built a deeper connection and trust. She started leaving small notes for him as well, little messages about books she enjoyed or observations about the town. The exchange of thoughts and care became a natural rhythm, their own quiet way of expressing feelings, without rush or pressure. The small gestures reinforced a bond that was slowly becoming unbreakable. One rainy afternoon, they sat under the awning of a small shop, watching the water run in streams along the street. She spoke about memories of rain from her childhood, the way it made her feel calm yet thoughtful. He listened attentively, commenting gently about his own experiences with rain and the way it reminded him of quiet times in the park. They laughed softly at shared observations, and the moment felt intimate and precious. Through each encounter, she discovered more about herself, the strength she had gained from past experiences, and the ability to open her heart carefully. She realized that love could be patient and steady, and that it did not have to rush. She began to trust that someone could care for her without asking for anything in return, except her presence and attention. Evenings, after their walks, she reflected on the gentle pull she felt towards him. She realized that it was not a sudden passion, but a deepening respect and affection, a growing understanding that drew her closer with every small act and whispered word of encouragement. The thought of him brought warmth and a quiet excitement she had not experienced before. She found herself looking forward to seeing him and sharing simple moments together. Each meeting became a small adventure, a place where she could be herself without fear or hesitation. He noticed her enthusiasm and responded with equal care, making small gestures that were meaningful and thoughtful. She realized that they were building a bond that was not just about love, but about mutual understanding, patience, and respect. Realization came slowly that she was falling in love with someone whose presence was gentle yet powerful, whose patience and attention had created a space where she could open her heart without fear. She felt grateful for the small moments, the quiet afternoons, the gentle walks, and shared silences. She understood that every whisper, every thoughtful gesture had drawn her closer, and she was beginning to embrace the possibility of a love that was steady and true. She began to notice the little things he did, unconsciously remembering her favorite tea, or noticing the way she lingered on certain streets and suggesting they walk there again. The small attentions became reminders of his care and consistency. Each act reinforced the growing bond that was forming between them, and she welcomed it with an open heart. In this quiet rhythm of shared days and gentle conversations, she found herself smiling more freely and feeling a sense of hope. She realized that love could grow patiently and that it could be nurtured by small moments and thoughtful gestures. She felt safe to imagine a future where someone cared deeply without rushing or demanding, where the slow unfolding of affection could become something lasting and true. By the end of part 2, she understood that what she was experiencing was different. From any other relationship she had known, it was not marked by grand declarations or dramatic events, but by consistent patience and the steadiest pull of attention and care. She felt herself being drawn closer and welcomed the feeling, knowing that love could be slow, gentle, and enduring, and every whisper between them was weaving a bond that would grow stronger with time. One morning, she woke with a heaviness in her chest. The problems at work had grown, and she felt the pressure weighing on her. She tried to face it alone, but found herself exhausted and anxious. She remembered that he had always been patient and gentle, and decided to meet him at their usual place by the riverbank. She hoped that his presence could give her the calm she needed. When she arrived, he was already there, sitting on the bench reading a book. He looked up as she approached and offered a small smile. She sat down beside him and breathed deeply, feeling a sense of relief just by being near him. She began to speak about her worries, the tension at work, the deadlines, the misunderstandings that had arisen, and the fears that she would not be able to manage it all. He listened quietly without interruption, letting her voice flow. He did not offer immediate solutions or advice. Instead, he stayed with her in the moment, allowing her to feel her emotions fully. She realized that just having someone listen without trying to fix everything made the burden lighter. She felt supported in a way that was different from any help she had received before. After she had spoken for a while, he spoke softly about times he had felt overwhelmed and uncertain. He shared how he had learned to take small steps and rely on the patience of others. He described moments when quiet encouragement had helped him find strength. She felt comforted by his calm presence and thoughtful words. It was not about grand gestures, but steady support that mattered. She looked at him and realized that this was part of the reason she was drawn to him: the patience he showed, the respect for her pace and feelings, and the gentle way he allowed her to be herself had created a space where she could breathe. She felt gratitude mixed with affection. She realized that love could grow even in the quietest moments through understanding and care. Days continued, and the challenges at work persisted. She sometimes felt frustrated and anxious, but she no longer faced them entirely alone. She shared her thoughts and worries with him, and he listened patiently, offering encouragement without pressure. She found that this allowed her to handle problems more calmly and thoughtfully. His presence reminded her that patience and support could help her through difficult times. One evening, they decided to take a walk in the park. As the sun was setting, the air was cool and soft, and the colors of the sky reflected on the small pond in the middle of the park. She spoke about the stress she had been feeling, and he walked beside her, listening attentively without rushing to fill the silence. He offered gentle questions that helped her explore her feelings and find clarity. She felt lighter as they walked together. The trust between them deepened as she shared more personal experiences from her past. She talked about moments when she had felt hurt or disappointed by people she had trusted. He listened without judgment, acknowledging her feelings and validating her experiences. She felt a sense of relief and acceptance. She realized that being with someone who respected her emotions was a form of love and care she had been missing. One afternoon, she received unexpected news that a past relationship was creating complications in her life. She felt the old fear rising in her chest and went to meet him immediately at the bookstore. They sat together quietly for a while before she began to explain what had happened. He did not interrupt or react sharply, but stayed present and attentive, letting her speak and process the situation in her own way. He gently asked questions that helped her think through the situation calmly. She realized that his patience and understanding allowed her to face challenges without panic. She felt a deep trust forming between them, a connection built not on words alone but on consistent presence and care. She began to understand that love could be steady and unshakable when rooted in patience and understanding. They spent the evening discussing the past and her concerns about it. He shared similar experiences he had faced in his life, and how he had managed to navigate them with patience and care. She found solace in his stories and guidance. She realized that facing difficulties together could strengthen their bond, and that support did not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. As the days passed, the woman noticed how their relationship was becoming an anchor in her life. She faced challenges at work and in daily routines, but she felt stronger knowing he was there to listen and support her. She learned to share her thoughts openly without fear of judgment, and discovered that talking through problems with someone who truly listened helped her find solutions more clearly. Their walks became longer and more meaningful. They explored areas of the town they had not visited before, noticing small details and appreciating the quiet beauty of familiar places. She found comfort in these shared moments and began to rely on them as a source of peace and joy. His patience and attention made her feel valued and cared for, and she started to understand that this steady affection was slowly building love in a way she had not expected. Evenings were spent reflecting on the day and sharing small insights about their lives. She found herself laughing softly at his gentle humor and listening intently to his quiet observations. She realized that love could grow from small, consistent interactions, and that every act of care mattered more than grand declarations. She began to feel a deeper emotional connection that was rooted in understanding and respect. One morning, she received a particularly challenging message from work and felt the familiar anxiety rising. She took a deep breath and decided to meet him at the park again. He was sitting on the bench reading quietly and looked up with a soft smile as she approached. She felt immediate relief and began to speak about her concerns. He listened patiently, and when she paused, he offered gentle encouragement, reminding her of her strengths and the times she had overcome difficulties in the past. She felt a sense of calm wash over her as she realized that facing challenges together made them less intimidating. She appreciated the quiet support he offered, the way he respected her emotions and allowed her to express herself fully without judgment. She began to see that patience and understanding could be forms of love that were more enduring than anything loud or dramatic. Their bond grew with each shared experience, each gentle conversation, and each moment of understanding. He noticed her small gestures and preferences and responded thoughtfully. She realized that love could be cultivated through attention and care, through being present and valuing each moment they spent together. She felt herself drawn closer to him in ways that were subtle, yet profound. As she reflected on her feelings, she realized that her trust in him had deepened beyond her expectations. She felt safe to share vulnerabilities and fears, knowing that he would listen with patience and understanding. She understood that this was a kind of love that required no rush and rewarded the slow unfolding of emotions and connection. One afternoon, they walked to a small hill overlooking the town. The sun was low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the streets. She spoke about her challenges and fears, and he listened, quietly offering thoughtful reflections. She felt her heart open more with each word and gesture. She began to see that the patience and quiet support he showed were drawing her closer, and that her affection for him was growing steadily. As they descended the hill together, she realized that love could be a gentle current, a steady presence that did not demand or push, but drew one closer through care and attention. She felt a sense of hope and anticipation. She knew that challenges would continue to come, but she felt ready to face them with someone who understood the power of patience and quiet support. By the end of part 3, she understood that their relationship had weathered early tests and that trust and care had strengthened their bond. She felt a sense of calm excitement, knowing that love could grow slowly and steadily, that every shared moment, every gentle gesture and quiet word was shaping a connection that could last and deepen with time. One morning she woke to a feeling of restlessness. Her thoughts were crowded with worries and uncertainties about the future. She decided to take a walk in the park where she and he often met. The cool air and the soft sounds of the town waking up gave her a momentary relief. As she walked slowly along the paths lined with trees and benches, she felt a mixture of anticipation and unease as she approached their usual spot. He was already there, sitting quietly on the bench, looking at the river she walked toward. Him feeling the familiar warmth that his presence always brought, she greeted him softly and sat beside him. They began to speak about ordinary things, the weather, the sounds of the town, and small observations they had made over the week. But the conversation soon moved to deeper subjects. She spoke about her fears about the future and the challenges she felt were beyond her control. He listened patiently as always, letting her speak fully before responding. His words were gentle reminders of her strength and resilience. He shared stories of moments when he had faced uncertainty and how patience and calmness had helped him navigate difficult situations. She felt herself relaxing in his presence, realizing that his support was more than advice. It was a steady calm that helped her find clarity within herself. A sudden misunderstanding arose that day when a friend mentioned something from her past. She felt a rush of fear and anxiety and immediately thought of withdrawing from him. She feared that the walls she had built around herself might need to rise again. He noticed the tension in her posture and expression, and did not push for an explanation. Instead, he simply stayed with her, letting her find the words at her own pace. She took a deep breath and slowly shared what had happened. The fear and frustration poured out in a quiet voice. She was surprised at how he responded, not with anger or impatience, but with understanding. He asked questions that helped her think about the situation calmly, without making her feel judged or pressured. She realized that his patience allowed her to process difficult emotions without feeling overwhelmed. After the conversation, she felt a sense of relief and closeness. She looked at him and understood that his steady presence was a kind of love that did not need to be loud to be powerful. She felt drawn to him more than ever, recognizing that trust and understanding could build a bond stronger than any hurried passion. Days went by and they spent more time together, exploring parts of the town they had not visited before. Small walks led to quiet conversations about life and future dreams. She shared her hopes for the future and the small fears that still lingered from past experiences. He listened attentively and offered insights not as solutions, but as gentle guidance. She began to feel that every moment with him added to a foundation of trust and affection that was becoming unshakable. One evening they visited a small hill that overlooked the town. The sky was painted with soft colors of dusk, and the town below looked calm and peaceful. She spoke about moments when she had felt alone and uncertain, and how she wished for someone to be patient and understanding in those times. He listened with care and shared stories of moments in his own life when support from others helped him navigate challenges. She realized that they were learning from each other, that patience and care could transform fear into confidence. An important turning point came when she faced a situation at work that required courage and decisive action. She was tempted to retreat into herself and avoid the challenge, but she decided to share her worries with him. He accompanied her to the place where she needed to be and offered quiet support as she addressed the issue. She felt stronger having him by her side. His calm encouragement gave her the confidence to act thoughtfully and decisively. She realized that love could give strength without demanding anything in return. The days following that event were filled with reflection. They spoke about the experience and the emotions that had come up during it. She found herself admiring his patience and the way he allowed her to navigate the situation without taking control or offering unnecessary advice. She felt gratitude and affection welling up inside her, knowing that she could rely on someone who respected her autonomy and supported her. Consistently, their relationship reached a new level of intimacy. Through these shared challenges, she began to see that the small acts of patience, the quiet support, the gentle attentiveness were all forms of love. She understood that love did not always need to be dramatic or loud to be powerful. It could grow through consistent care and understanding. One afternoon, they sat in the small cafe where they had shared many conversations before. She spoke about her childhood dreams and the ways in which life had shaped her. The man listened carefully, asking soft questions that encouraged her to reflect on her feelings. She felt herself opening more than ever before, sharing vulnerabilities that she had kept hidden for years. He responded with gentle understanding, reinforcing her trust and allowing her to feel fully. Evenings became a time for reflection and quiet connection. They would walk through the streets, noticing the simple beauty around them, the sounds of the town, the colors of the sky, and the small details of daily life. They shared thoughts and feelings about what they observed and found joy in discovering the ordinary together. She realized that these small shared moments were the threads that wove their bond. Tightly together one day, he made a small but meaningful gesture he brought her a book she had mentioned weeks before and left a note with it, describing what he liked about the story. She found the gesture touching and realized that these thoughtful acts were part of what had drawn her heart closer. She understood that love could manifest in small, consistent actions that communicated care and attention more profoundly than words alone. As she reflected on these moments, she realized that she had fallen in love with someone whose patience and presence had created a space where she could be herself without fear. She felt a deep trust and an emotional intimacy that had been rare in her life. She understood that love built slowly through care and understanding could be more enduring than any passionate but fleeting romance. Their walks and meetings continued with a gentle rhythm. She felt secure, knowing that every shared experience strengthened their bond. She realized that love could be steady and patient, that it could grow quietly and naturally without rushing or forcing feelings. She welcomed the depth of connection that had formed and the realization that every gesture and every whisper had drawn her closer to him. By the end of part 4, she understood that they had reached a turning point. Their relationship had grown beyond casual meetings into a bond rooted in trust, understanding, and patience. She felt hope and anticipation, knowing that the love they were building could continue to grow steadily and deeply. She knew that with every gentle gesture, every shared experience, and every whispered word, they were creating something lasting. And true days passed with a quiet rhythm that felt comforting. She and he continued their walks, their talks, and their shared moments of calm and reflection. Each meeting seemed to deepen their understanding and connection. She noticed how naturally their bond had grown, how easily she could share her thoughts and feelings without fear, and how he responded with patience and care. One morning, she decided to take him to a small garden she had loved since childhood. The garden was filled with flowers that grew wild and paths that curved gently among the trees. They walked slowly, noticing the colors and smells, and shared small observations about the life around them. She spoke about how the garden made her feel peaceful, and he listened attentively, commenting softly on what he noticed as well. She felt warmth in her chest, recognizing that their bond had grown strong enough to share these special places together over. The next few days, they continued to meet in familiar spots: the riverbank, the park, the quiet cafe, each meeting filled with small gestures and gentle conversations. She realized that the feeling she had developed for him was no longer just comfort. It had grown into affection and love. She appreciated the way he remembered little details about her preferences, the way he listened with attention, and the way he never rushed or pressured her feelings. One afternoon, they encountered a small challenge. Together, she had to make a decision about an important aspect of her work and felt uncertain about the right choice. She spoke about her fears and doubts to him, and he listened with patience. He asked thoughtful questions that helped her explore her feelings and think clearly about the situation. She felt encouraged and supported, not by commands or advice, but by his calm presence and unwavering attention through these shared experiences. She realized that love could be steady and enduring. It did not always need dramatic moments or passionate declarations. It could grow quietly through patience, understanding, and consistent care. She began to understand that every gesture, every shared moment, and every whispered word had brought them to a point where trust and love were strong and unspoken yet undeniable. One evening, they walked to a hill overlooking the town. The sky was painted with warm colors of dusk, and the streets below were soft and calm. She spoke about her hopes for the future and the dreams she had nurtured in silence. He listened quietly, asking gentle questions and offering his thoughts with care. She felt herself opening, fully realizing that their connection had become a safe space where she could be entirely herself. As they walked down the hill, they noticed small lights flickering on in the town streets. She spoke about how comforting the lights felt, and he shared how he often noticed such small details that made ordinary moments feel special. She realized that love was not just about grand gestures, but about noticing and cherishing these quiet moments together. She felt a sense of joy and gratitude for having someone who could see her fully and care for her gently over time. They spent more afternoons exploring hidden corners of the town, small streets, quiet cafes, and gardens that held simple beauty. They laughed together over small jokes and shared observations. She found that these moments strengthened their bond. She noticed that the quiet patience he showed and the consistent attentiveness had drawn her heart closer with every day. They had built a connection based on trust, understanding, and care that felt enduring. One day he surprised her with a small collection of notes and letters he had written over the weeks. She read them slowly, noticing the thoughtfulness in every word, every memory, every small observation, and every gentle encouragement had been recorded. He had given her the gift of attention and care in tangible form. She felt deeply touched, realizing how much love could be expressed through patience and quiet thoughtfulness. As the weeks continued, their relationship became a rhythm of shared moments and mutual respect. They continued to talk, walk, and explore the town together. She shared more of her life experiences, and he responded with understanding and empathy. Each conversation strengthened their trust and affection. She realized that love was growing naturally and steadily, and that this steady growth was more meaningful than any rush or dramatic declaration. One afternoon, they visited the old library together. She wandered among the shelves while he followed at a gentle distance, letting her choose what interested her. He offered suggestions softly and respectfully, and she felt appreciated and understood. She chose a book, and they sat together reading quietly. The comfort of being near him, without needing constant conversation, made her heart feel calm and content. She understood that love could thrive in quiet presence and simple companionship. Evenings were often spent reflecting on the day and sharing thoughts. She spoke about small victories and worries. She noticed that he always listened fully, never rushing her to feel differently, but allowing her to explore her emotions and come to her own understanding. He responded with gentle insight and encouragement. She realized that love was built in these moments of care and reflection. One evening, as they walked through the quiet streets, she noticed how naturally she reached for his hand. He took it without hesitation and held it gently. She felt a warmth and comfort that spoke of trust and affection. She realized that all the small gestures, all the patient listening, and all the quiet presence had led to this moment, a natural and unspoken acknowledgement of their deepening bond. As the weeks turned into months, their love continued to grow steadily. They faced small challenges and moments of uncertainty together. She shared her worries, and he provided quiet support. She felt stronger and more confident knowing she could rely on someone who valued patience and understanding above all else. She began to see that love could be enduring when built on trust and attention rather than haste or intensity. One morning, they returned to the garden she had shown him earlier. She spoke about how much the place meant to her, and he listened with care. They walked among the flowers, noticing the details and sharing observations. She felt a deep sense of peace, realizing that their love was now a part of her daily life and thoughts. She understood that patience and gentle care had created a bond that was lasting and meaningful. Days became filled with shared routines and quiet adventures. They explored new parts of the town and revisited familiar spots. She noticed that their relationship had become a steady presence in her life, a source of comfort and joy. She felt gratitude for every small gesture, every moment of attention, and every shared smile, recognizing that these moments had created a foundation of enduring love. One evening, as the sun was setting, they sat on a hill overlooking the town. She spoke about her hopes and dreams, and he listened attentively. He shared his own thoughts softly, allowing her to reflect and respond. She felt a deep sense of connection and trust, realizing that they had built a love that was strong and patient and enduring. In the final reflection, she understood that every whisper, every small act of care, and every moment of patience had drawn her closer to him. Their love was not marked by drama or haste, but by steady presence and understanding. She felt joy and hope knowing that their bond could continue to grow, and that the love they shared had been nurtured with care, attention, and patience. She smiled softly, realizing that this quiet, steady, enduring love was exactly what she had been waiting for, and she welcomed the future with him. By her side, months had passed since they had first begun their quiet journey together, and the bond between them had grown stronger with every shared moment. Every day brought small gestures of care and understanding that built a deep sense of trust and affection. She noticed how naturally he had become a part of her life, and how comfortable she felt being completely herself around him. One morning she woke with a sense of anticipation. She had been thinking about how far they had come and how much she valued the steady love they had nurtured together. She decided to take him to a small place by the river where the sunlight fell softly on the water and the air was filled with the gentle sound of flowing currents. They walked slowly hand in hand, noticing the details around them, the soft ripple of water, the colors of the sky reflected on the river, and the quiet life of the town. As they reached a familiar bench, they sat together and spoke about ordinary things, the small moments that had made them smile, and the shared experiences that had strengthened their bond. She realized that these simple moments were the foundation of something much deeper, a love built on patience, attention, and understanding. She looked at him and felt a warmth that went beyond comfort. It was a quiet joy that filled her heart. Over the next few weeks, they spent time exploring corners of the town they had not visited before. Small streets, quiet cafes, and little gardens became places of discovery. They shared observations about life around them, noticing the beauty in ordinary details. She began to realize that love was not about grand gestures or dramatic events, but about the steady presence of someone who cared consistently and thoughtfully. One afternoon, she faced a situation that challenged her patience and composure. A personal conflict arose that threatened to stir old fears and insecurities. She felt anxious and unsure how to handle it. She went to meet him at their usual spot by the park and spoke about her concerns. He listened without interrupting, allowing her to express every thought and feeling fully. She felt a sense of relief just being able to share her fears without judgment. He spoke softly about similar experiences he had faced and how he had managed to stay calm and patient. He shared insights about relying on small steps and steady support rather than rushing to solutions. She felt encouraged by his gentle guidance, realizing that facing challenges together made them more manageable and strengthened their connection. She understood that patience and care were forms of love that provided stability and reassurance. As they walked through the quiet streets of the town, she noticed how naturally they had fallen into a rhythm together. Small gestures like sharing a smile, a gentle touch, or a quiet word became part of their daily lives. She realized that these small acts were not insignificant, but were threads weaving a strong bond between them. Every shared moment added depth and meaning to their relationship. One evening, they returned to the small garden she had loved since childhood. The flowers were in full bloom, and the air was filled with fragrance and soft sounds of nature. They walked among the paths, noticing the colors and the textures of leaves and petals. She spoke about how the garden had always been a place of peace and reflection, and he listened attentively, commenting softly on what he observed. She felt a profound sense of connection, knowing that he appreciated these small details that were important to Heron. The following days, they continued to meet and explore together. She shared thoughts about her dreams and fears, and he responded with gentle understanding. She realized that love could thrive in moments of listening and empathy, as much as in shared laughter and joy. Each conversation and gesture strengthened her trust and affection. She began to see that steady, patient love created a sense of security that allowed her heart to open fully. One afternoon, they sat by the river watching the sunlight dance on the water. She reflected on the journey they had taken together, from the first quiet meeting in the bookstore to the deep bond they now shared. She noticed how every whisper, every thoughtful gesture, and every shared moment had drawn her closer. She felt a sense of gratitude for the patient love that had nurtured her heart and allowed her to trust and love freely. As the sun began to set, they walked slowly through the streets, observing the soft glow on the buildings and the calm of the evening. She shared stories from her past, the challenges she had faced, and the dreams she held close. He listened with full attention, his presence providing a steady calm that made her feel safe. She realized that their love was built on understanding and patience, and that these qualities gave her confidence to embrace the future with hope. In the weeks that followed, they explored new places together: the quiet library, the old bridge by the river, the small park on the edge of town. Each location became a canvas for shared experiences and gentle moments of connection. She noticed how naturally they communicated without needing many words, how small touches and gestures conveyed deep affection. She began to see that love was expressed in patience and attentiveness as much as in conversation and laughter. One rainy afternoon, they found shelter under a small awning and watched the water run along the streets. She spoke about how rain reminded her of peaceful moments from her childhood, and he shared his own memories of quiet reflection during storms. She felt a sense of intimacy in sharing these small, personal experiences and realized that such moments had strengthened their bond more than any dramatic events could have. Days turned into months, and their relationship continued to grow steadily. She noticed how every small act of care, every whispered word of encouragement, and every patient moment of understanding had built a love that was quiet yet enduring. She felt a deep sense of security and contentment, knowing that this love was based on mutual respect and genuine attention to each other's feelings. One evening, as they walked through the familiar streets, she realized that she had come to depend on the gentle rhythm of their connection. She felt confident in her affection and trust in him. She understood that love was a living thing, nurtured through consistent care and patience, and that it grew stronger with every shared experience. She felt joy in knowing that their relationship had matured into a steady and enduring bond. They spent quiet moments together, reflecting on the past and imagining the future. She spoke about hopes she had long held in her heart, and he listened attentively, allowing her thoughts to unfold naturally. He shared his own aspirations, gently encouraging her to pursue her dreams and explore her potential. She felt supported in a way that was profound and liberating, realizing that love could be a source of strength and confidence. As time went on, they continued to nurture their bond through everyday interactions, walks, shared meals, visits to familiar places, and quiet evenings spent in conversation. Each moment contributed to the foundation of trust and affection that had become the heart of their relationship. She noticed how naturally love had grown without rush or pressure, how patience and attentiveness had created a connection that was lasting and meaningful. Morning, she reflected on the journey they had taken together, from the first meeting in the bookstore to the present. Every gesture had drawn her closer and built a love that was gentle, steady, and true. She felt gratitude and deep affection for the patient presence that had nurtured her heart and allowed her to open fully in the quiet moments of reflection. She understood that love was not always about dramatic expressions or grand declarations. It could be found in consistent care and patience and understanding, in the small gestures that showed attention and respect. She felt joy in the knowledge that they had built a bond that could endure challenges and grow steadily with time. By the end of part 6, she realized that their love had reached a place of calm and stability. She felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that every whisper, every shared moment, every gentle act of care had contributed to a love that was lasting and true. She welcomed the future with confidence and hope, knowing that their patient and enduring affection would continue to guide them together.